Hey Saber fans, so it's the neck time again, and I have a very good one for you today. It's an Anakin Starkiller V2, expertly weathered by Adam Wells. Got that nice weathering up top. Gaffer's tape, no adapter added on. That lovely dark brown. Got some rust weathering in between. This was custom machined. My client did send it off for custom machine work, specifically for, I believe, the cone knob to place that accurately on there, and for the mystery chunk. It also had the pommel vented, similar to a Hero static pommel. That nice weathering on the bottom too. Quite a bit of money has went into this. Pretty sure this is might be a Wanawanga D-ring or Solo sold, one of the two, but I'm pretty sure, actually I'm 100% certain this is a vintage clamp. As far as the clamp lever goes, couldn't be too certain about that one. I know that the clamp card is a KR clamp card. So rocking a Crystal Focus 10 with a TCS bass speaker. This of course has full color changing on the fly. Spectrum. And also Kyber. Well, that was Spectrum dial. Here's Kyber dial. Spectrum. So this allows you to refine the color a little bit more. Smaller increments. Of course, we gotta have green. Let's go ahead and put it on the return.
Selection.
So that was Hero by Mad Cow.
I'm a Jedi, like my father before me.
Here's the return by Jesse Kirkbride of Kyberphonic. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's got a 7/8 inch blade. Neopixel, of course. The blade depth is about 0.6 inches. So not a lot of blade depth, but enough. What I did was I used a Goth 3 Designs PCB holder from a Shapeways store, but I bought the short pins for a TCSS connector from Mouser. That way you can get maximum blade depth, and plus it's already limited. If you had a pogo pin holder for stock custom works, that would have worked out way better, but this also has a NeoPixel blade plug with a stock custom works PCB with the LEDs already mounted. This blade plug was actually made by Will Ailing? Yeah, it'd be Ailing, of Divinium Customs. That way it's nice shine through, because normally that blade plug doesn't have shine through, it's just flush. Actually, how it originally is those two threaded screws right here for the blade retention. I think that's one, yeah. There's one here and one here, accurate to the prop. thread into that. It actually like wobbles around whenever you originally get it, but he sent that off to get custom machined to be a blade plug for shine through, so turned out great. Now, this is sporting a Goth 3 Designs chassis as well. My client spared no expense by any means. So, what I mean by that, lovely crystal reveal. Neopixel pogo pin there and here. I used the long pins on this, the standard ones that come with TCSS. It's got some lovely green quartz crystals. They're dyed green. I think he got them off Etsy. And of course, one neopixel on each side. The top neopixel is wired to LS2. The bottom one is wired in parallel with the blade. So, in case there's ever a firmware update to where you can have the LS2 pulsing or anything like that, you can do that. Not later. But as it stands right now, it's just completely blade matching.
Spectrum.
I got a bunch of accent LEDs down there on the board as well. You can see them actually pulsing back and forth. There it is. And recharge port and access for everything else. You know, I was thoroughly surprised with how good of sound venting it has for just one little bitty hole. I think it also vents through, you know, that little groove right there as well a little bit. But you know, never have this top section off. Yeah. Pretty loud. God, I just love this weathering, like the textured feel to it. It's just so awesome. And he seals it with a clear coat of some type, so you can just rub it all day if you wanted to. Just don't scratch at it. Good God forbid, never do that. But yeah, Crystal Focus X, SD card access, recharge port, 28mm bass speaker. I left the gasket on there since TCS comes with it. I mean, it doesn't interfere with anything. One thing I did do is with the kill key, I shaved down one of the edges. That way, whenever you want to put the pommel back on, you can leave the kill key in. Just twist it over and you know it's good. Yeah, you can see these little accent LEDs going up. Scrolling back and forth. Nuts on lock up. Yeah, this was quite a labor-intensive build. Not even gonna lie. I just love the weathering that Adam Wells does. It's so amazing. You know, just the small details like scratches here and there, you know, I'm sure he gets creative with it and makes each one unique. Of course, there was no holes drilled for the switches. I, of course, drilled 2 holes for the switches, switch wires, and then also drilled a 440 set screw that feeds into the chassis to hold it in place, so it's a fixed chassis now. Yeah, I do like that. All the copper tubing and rods. So like, you know, all these rods don't come with it. You know, like this copper one will tarnish over time. You know, these little brass accents all around. It's actually, how all these hold together, it's, yeah, you can actually see one of the rods right there. See if I can get to focus in a little better, maybe. No, it's not going to focus, it's just brightening. There's a brass rod right there, and right there on each side. And also this big rod sinks down into the chassis a little bit, so that all gets glued together. all of this, there's actually each individual rod on here is actually synced up on this, so it's nice and flush. And of course that gets glued on. There was a lot of glue that went into this actually. You know, you'll actually see it right down in here. See that little brass collar right there that I'm touching? That's not normally on there. That's actually from a pneumatic fitting. And I used that on top of the crystal add-on right there. The little, I think he used, natural brass. I just glued that on. Then I put the crystal on that and glued that on. Then I put the neopixel LED underneath that and glued that on. You know, there's no way to mechanically fit it on there. You know, it's just, yeah. One of the things that I had an issue with was this was really loose. Like, you can see it fits really tight now. That was not the case whenever I got it. So I know some people have used set screws to make that better, more secure. The only set screw this has on it is one, and that lines up with, see if you can see that U shape. It's right there underneath the clamp switch section. It just feeds down in there and locks in place. J-lock, just like a Graflex. But what I did was I used small strips of electrical tape to clear that barrier, and then it was still a little loose, so I put a thin layer of high temp Kapton tape on it, and that turned out fantastic. You also get a little shine through right there underneath the clamp as well. Over and above all, I'd have to say it was a good day whenever I finished this. Little to no issues. Of course, I went to initially test the CFX to make sure, you know, it was ready for an install. And I guess the firmware was outdated. So that was fun. Figured out how to update CFX to the new firmwares. And started working great after that. That was a new one. You know, I've done tons of profis, so I had a little bit of experience in programming these boards, so that was a lot of fun. I was just glad I got it to work eventually. Shout out to Shane Moore. He made the suggestion, and by God, that fixed it. One of the tricky parts may have been the getting the pogo pins here and here synced up perfectly. You know, the best option I found was to just undo the tape enough, unscrew the emitter because it unscrews right there. Get all the wires, solder them together, screw it back down, good as can be. Yeah, God, that weathering though, like, Adam does amazing work. Like all those little details under the rings, Jesus Christ. Look at all those details, Jesus. I got a feeling it's all random. Like as far as the grooves go, it just chips away here and there, but you're paying for that experience, you know. And beautiful, beautiful dark brown neck. He really does excellent work. You know, I have a Solos Hold V2 Gen 2 that was sent off to him at the same time this was sent off to help save my client on shipping, and helped him just have, you know, two sabers to do at once, you know, or whatever, however you want to say it. Jesus Christ, they are both just so amazing. I really like the venting on this. Like, it's just, the speaker is being ran at 75%. Whenever I first installed it, it was at 100%. Pretty daggum loud. You know, this is still really, really good.
bank selection.
I'm a Jedi.
Only together can we turn him to the dark side of the Force.
This is one Sith's ROTJ Legends.
Now you will experience the full power of the dark side.
You know, his font actually came with a config. I loaded up that config initially, and yeah, it sounded terrible, to be completely honest. Like, it wasn't humming at all until you started swinging it. Like, this is actually the font config from Jesse Kirkbride's The Return. It's a lot better, but still, the hum is so low. I don't know. That'll be up to the client to configure.
Now, young Skywalker, you will die.
One thing that I really liked about this font is the music track. Very interesting music track. TIE fighters going on in the background. Just does that for a while.
I'm looking forward to completing our training.
I wonder if there's any forces with this one. I don't know.
So be it.
Amen.
Sound bank selection.
I'm a Jedi.
But yep, there she is. Another V2 done. Crystal reveal chassis. Yeah. A lot of man hours and work went into that. Not just from me. So let's just take a step down memory lane here. So first it had machining done to it. That was probably a few hours at least. Blade plug. Couple hours. Weathering, good God, I don't know how long that weathering takes, but I'm willing to bet it's at least 10 to 12 hours for one. And, you know, Adam does get compensated generously for that, but you know, it's still a specialty work. What do you expect? And the install in between polishing the crystal chamber, because you know, this main piece right here, it does not come smooth. It's got a rough finish to it, so sanding is highly recommended. And of course I did sand it, polish it, clean it up. Sizing the rods, getting the chassis ready, getting the switches dialed in perfectly, because you know this switch holder, it's not dialed in perfectly. You normally have to sand that down, cut it, Dremel it, whatever you do to shorten it to where it'll actually click flush. You know, same for the clamp card. You know, whenever I got this, it was pretty thick. Had to sand that down as well after it was installed, because you know, you got to get the switches working appropriately. You can't have the auxiliary press the whole time. Getting the onboard SMD LEDs for the CFX, wiring the CFX, figuring out exactly how I wanted to run it, because it turned out to be a very clean install, like no visible wires on top of the board at all. I was pretty impressed with that personally. I love it whenever that happens. Time to update the firmware, yeah. God, there's got to be at least 3 days worth of work in this total for hours wise, maybe more. Now let's talk about making the hilt in general, the Anakin Starkiller. There we go. The Anakin Starkiller V2, just making that alone, I don't know how long that took, but you know, it's definitely one of the more affordable kits on the market. It's about a third of the cost of a Solo's Hold. Because I mean, you know, whenever he still had them on his site, they're about 150 a pop. That ain't crap. Like, Solo's Hold is 500. Yeah. Quality wise, the quality is there, definitely. But anyways, I've yapped on long enough. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed seeing that beautiful weathering on the emitter and the emitter nipple, and oh my god, he said nipple. But yeah, God, look at all that. I just can't get over the weathering job he does. So astounding. I don't think I've seen anybody else's weathering yet, but I think if there was anybody else I'd want to weather a V2 for me, it'd probably be Halowax. There's a couple others in the community that does a good job, but Halowax and Adam Wells, I feel like probably do some of the best work. I know Ryan Kelly does too of RPK Customs, but Adam and Halowax have been doing this forever, so yeah, those would be my go-to guys. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Nice Saturday. I figured this would be a good video for you guys to start your, should be done about noon probably, so be a good way to get your weekend started. Anyways, till next time, may the force be with you always.